super excited to talk with Jessica with Defy Foods, and I'm going to bring her on in just a second. I'm Sari Kimbell. I'm the creator of Food Business Success, and I help packaged food business entrepreneurs start and grow their packaged food business dream, getting into wholesale, online, farmers markets, really growing their business. So I'm going to bring on Jessica. I'm really excited about this topic. It's going to be super fun.
There she is. Hi.
How's it
The
going?
camera always shifts there. Okay. It's going amazing. How are you?
I'm good. Doing really good.
I love your background. I need to get some food photos. That's my next thing.
Thanks. It's in my living room. It's like the only spot where the lighting's okay from the overhead lights.
I know. We've all had to figure out like the places in our house that are like Zoom worthy.
Exactly. It's like clean up around.
I know. Totally. Well, have people jumping on, but I introduced myself very quickly. It looks like we have some more people jumping on, so I'm just going to say I'm Sari Kimbell. I'm a creator of Food Business Success. I work with packaged food producers, and we had the privilege of talking a while back, jumped on a call, and I got to learn about Defy Foods, and we had some great back and forth. But I've been following you guys, and that was pre Kickstarter. And I know, I get so many. Actually, I don't get a ton, but there are always those people who are like, "What's this crowdfunding thing?
Yeah.
Should I do it?" And I don't know. So this is going to be a great conversation. But why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and your product, and kind of just give us a little context too.
Yeah, so I'm Jessica. I'm one of the co-founders of Defy Foods, and we are a low-carb, keto kind of snack food line, with our initial product being a keto cheddar cracker. And kind of a little abbreviated backstory to our history. My best friend and business partner, we met about 7 years ago, and our daughters are about a month apart. So our families became very close. And about 5 years ago, we both started keto, had a lot of great lifestyle changes. My partner lost 120 pounds doing it. And I didn't have as much to lose, but definitely had a great journey with it and continue to do keto. We both do. So kind of in that process, at the beginning, no one had even heard of keto. Like you would say it and they're like, what's keto? Like, what are you talking about? And then slowly, it started catching on, but there still were very few food products on the market that were actually keto, that were convenient, that had good ingredients. So we were doing a lot of cooking, like having dinners together, trying new recipes, sharing tips. And she kind of grew a organic following on YouTube documenting her weight loss journey, and got approached by a cookbook publisher to write a cookbook. So in the midst of doing all of that, we kind of were working on stuff together and bouncing ideas, and then came up with this idea like, well, what if we launched a food line, like a keto food line? And at first it was sort of just like, what if we launched a food line?
That's hilarious.
And then at some point we were like, okay, we're like talking about this. Is this like a thing? Are we going to do this? So at some point we like decided, yes, let's do it. Started like brainstorming names and trying different products and testing out recipes in our kitchen. And then it kind of snowballed from there of like getting trademarks and figuring out all these different things. And that was about 2 years ago. So we have been working on everything from the formula and manufacturing and all the legal aspects and packaging for about.
Do you wish that you found me 2 years ago?
Seriously. I mean, that's what I said to you when we talked. I'm like, there's so many things that I like struggled my way through like not even knowing that there was another option, that like something existed where people consult with you and help you through it. So it's like hours of research and trial by error.
But to your credit, you got a long way, and you're still like, you guys are cruising now. So
I mean, even our call that we had not long ago was so helpful, and just like aha moments that I'm like, oh, why did I not think of that? It's like, you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know, and that's the biggest thing at the food business. Well, it's super fun. I was looking through Suzanne's page. What's the name of her page? Keto
Karma.
Okay, Keto Karma. And just the transformation, the photos and stuff were really fascinating. But sure. I really think food businesses come from two places. Either it's like a family recipe, like something that's been passed down, the award-winning, XYZ, or you're solving this problem, right? Like you guys were, 5 years ago, you're right, like keto was still pretty unheard of, or it was definitely on the fringe, and there weren't a lot of products that helped with that. Those convenience, especially like crunch snacky foods, or something you really miss. And not, I do keto as well. Yeah. So, but you guys were really like, okay, there's a problem and we want to solve this problem. And I think that's the other big source of inspiration. Yeah.
I mean, because we are essentially our target market, it's like we were solving a problem for ourselves, like both being busy moms. Like I was working full time in a corporate job. She was working full time on writing books. Like she's now has her second book, running her business. That it's like, we could make great things in the kitchen, but it's like not always the thing that you want to be doing when you have so many other things going on. It's like slaving over perfecting some kind of recipe. So like really it stemmed from trying to solve a problem for ourselves, that it's like we missed something crunchy and we didn't want to spend hours doing it for ourselves, which of course turned into many more hours of doing it. But at least like, wanting to help other people on their journey too, to make it a more sustainable, easier lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, there's so much we could get into. I mean, you guys just going through the process of like, you really had to deal, like the process of making the crackers and all of that. But I do want to like focus for right now on the Kickstarter, because I know people have questions, and you guys did such a fantastic job. And I'm sure your background in marketing was a huge help. I think that there's this myth that like, I'll just do a Kickstarter, I'll just do a crowdfunding, and it's going to be so easy and the money's just going to pour right in.
Yeah.
But I do want to just say up front, like, and I donated, and I'm excited to get my crackers. But you guys had a goal of 25,000, right? And you came in a little over 47,000.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
I know.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We were super excited and happy with the outcome of it. It was like a crazy roller coaster of like blood, sweat, and tears. So it was super gratifying at the end to be like, yes, like it was worth it.
I know. Good. Like you almost doubled your goal. That's insane. So let's just start at the beginning. Like you decided to do this because you're going to go into co-packing right away. You're not going to make them yourselves. You do not want to be cutting out little crackers.
I know. We started there. We almost signed a contract for a commercial kitchen, and we're like, okay, we'll just, produce the Kickstarter orders ourselves, and then we'll be able to transition into like a co-manufacturer. And we like quickly realized like, what are we thinking? Like, when are we going to do that with, at the time, like 5-year-olds, and the slots that we could get into a commercial kitchen would be like overnight, and we had full-time jobs, and we're like, we'd have to do this every weekend for like months to get enough quantity.
You do. You have to evaluate your lifestyle. Like, do I really want to be doing that?
Yeah.
So really the Kickstarter was all about like, we know we want to go into co-manufacturing, but obviously that's a big investment up front. And, you want to get those those price breaks and there's minimum order quantities. So so you decided to do the Kickstarter. So like, what were some, like, how do you start? What was, give us
Yeah.
some tips.
So, I mean, the Kickstarter definitely, I think one thing in retrospect that like I wish I had done a little bit differently was actually spend more time really digging into like how promoting your Kickstarter works and like what successes other people have had. But we were so focused on like getting the product to a really viable place before we launched the Kickstarter that like it just took up so much time. And then, you know, obviously doing this in the middle of a pandemic and like a racial like war going on in the country is a crazy time for sure. So we were kind of just like picking and choosing where we invested our effort to get us to the Kickstarter. And we definitely like planned out a lot of the like initial launch marketing and our audience and like, you know, our friends and family, but also Suzanne has a following that's really interested in keto.
Sure. Yeah.
So we did a lot of work on it, but like immediately launching, we were like, holy crap, like this is gonna take like every day, like grinding at this. And we pretty much had daily couple hour calls in the morning. With like a day by day marketing calendar across like every marketing channel, like our own email, her email, our social channels, YouTube, like personal emails, business emails, and then
text messages.
I mean, everything pretty much. And then we had like a Google Doc where we would collaborate on the actual content and like writing out all the copy. Like I taught myself Illustrator in the middle of the campaign because I was like, there's no way we're going to have enough like design assets for everything that we need. Like we thought we had all the stuff. So like as much as my background is in marketing and we thought we were prepared, it definitely is like a steep learning curve. And I remember you even said to me like, oh, are you ready? It's like a wild ride. It's like a lot of work. And I was like, I don't know exactly what people mean when they say this, like, but you just kind of like launch it. And then, you know, like every week we'll send out a couple communications and reminders. And quickly we were like, yeah, that's probably not going to cut it.
I think, well, a healthy dose of idealism and optimism is good because you're like, oh, maybe I wouldn't have ever done that if I knew.
Kickstarter and the food business. I'm like, naivete is like your best friend and your biggest enemy.
I know. Yeah, Maddie Marketing said, very common myth with crowdfunding, right? Like, it's just going to be easy. I just ask people for some money. I send a few emails, but it is a daily grind. Because how long was the campaign for?
It was 30 days.
30 days, yeah. So, I mean,
also, it's like a ticking time bomb. You know, it's like a lot of pressure monitoring it where it's like you have to make decisions so quickly and pivot and see like what's working well. How do we lean into that? What's not working? We don't want to waste our time doing this.
Yeah.
So that definitely was kind of like, oh, gotta do it today. Like there's no time, you know, as you're watching kind of the days and the hours tick by.
Yeah, you got to make every day count in those 30 days for sure. Yeah. So, so let's see, and even getting ready for it. I mean, you guys had to make a video, which was great, and then so you did the video, and then you set up the page, and that looked really great. Testimonials.
We worked on the page, kind of like putting it together asset by asset with the outline for probably over 6 months before we launched it. Of just like, we worked with a designer, and each time that we would like get another asset, I would go in and upload it and like start to look at the flow of the page and make adjustments and like get really familiar with the platform, because I didn't want to be like, all right, we've got 2 days before we launch our campaign, let's build it all. now and run into things where we're like, oh, the size of the asset is not right, or, you know, and we wanted it to really, like, our vision to come to life for it.
Yeah. I mean, you did a really professional, everything was very, very professional looking.
Thank you. That's our, like, both of our perfectionism and my background in marketing and creative, that I'm like, well, I can't go out with something that's like not, you know, meets my standards.
Yeah. So if people want a good example page, I think you can still view it. So yeah, definitely Google the Defy Foods Kickstarter campaign. I think you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
Having a nice mix of reels and the video and imagery and packaging and what the vision was. So, you know, with the Kickstarter campaign, I mean, basically I was like buying boxes, future crackers, right? Like you have to make all these crackers and then deliver them to people, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially like pre-ordering a product. I mean, people do. Can you hear me okay? Because you're a little bit frozen.
Yeah, you're a little frozen on my end, but I can hear you fine.
Okay, I can hear you too. Your visual is frozen and mine probably is too, but hopefully it comes back.
Yeah.
But I'll keep talking. So, you know, different people set up their campaigns differently as far as what they deliver to their backers. But for ours, since it's, you know, a packaged product, it's essentially like a pre-order type of system where you get, you know, perks and better pricing in this kind of pre-order Kickstarter phase, as like, you know, the people who are really like our biggest supporters and putting their faith in like something that is not hasn't truly come to fruition yet, but is an idea. And I think we really got a lot farther than a lot of Kickstarter campaigns in like prepping the actual product and a website and like our business plan and manufacturing than a lot of people do. So we wanted to make sure, like, when we put it out there, that it was really viable and that we weren't going to be like, thank you guys so much for supporting us, but I don't think we can make this now.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there are different stages, and some people are definitely more concept. I mean, Nut Pods is a good example, where she did a, you know, Kickstarter, and it was really to help her formulate. I mean, she didn't even have a product still, and they ran through that Kickstarter money really fast and still didn't have a product, you know. But but you guys, you know, you are really close. I mean, you were like, really the Kickstarter money is just to like turn on the manufacturing, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, and we, like, to be totally honest, I mean, we have self-funded and bootstrapped a lot of money before the Kickstarter. So like the Kickstarter, the goal of the Kickstarter was obviously financial, was one component of it, because the costs are just kind of insane. And like, I recognize we're going kind of somewhat full force into like a fully manufactured product, versus doing it in like little baby steps where you can contain the cost a lot better. But we felt like it was the right thing, that we could invest our time that way in the right areas. So the Kickstarter was like partially to help with the funding, but also just to get like a gauge on the market and understand like, what is people's reaction to this product? Like, how do they respond? And then I think the third component of it for us, like not being food industry veterans or having produced a food product before, is just like a little bit of that runway and flexibility to be able to give ourselves the time to dial in all the logistics after the Kickstarter closes, which is where we are now. And there's like definitely still lots of things that pop up on a daily basis, no matter how much we can plan for it in advance. But it's like when you turn on your e-commerce site, it's essentially like people expect at that point, you know, okay, I put in my order and you'll ship it next week, and or in 2 days, you know, like ideally sooner than that, but like I'll get it next week, or maybe at the latest 2 weeks. And we were just like, we don't feel confident that like we're not going to run into hurdles that then we're going to disappoint customers who are coming. So I think this is a way to kind of give us like a little runway to ramp up and also set the right expectations with people of like what we're trying to do and kind of our story.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So there's definitely some different end goals why people do Kickstarters, but yeah, you guys sound like you did a lot of the work up front. And how much, if you don't mind sharing like a rough number, how much of money of your own did you guys put into this before you did the Kickstarter?
Definitely like tens of thousands of dollars. I mean,
but you did go big, and I think that is a big difference. Like, I always stress to people, like, it's whatever your goals are, there's no problem. Like, you can go into a farmer's market and you can start there, and that's great. Or, you guys were like, no, we know that we have something in the marketplace that there's a need, and we just need to go big.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about like, oh, maybe we should have like started a little smaller, but then, inevitably going that route comes with other challenges where it's like, oh, well, then our price would need to be a lot higher, and, we'd need to invest a lot more of our time making the product or selling the product, at a farmer's market or things of that sort, where we kind of just had to weigh those different things and just know like comes with more financial risk, but hopefully gets us to like our end goal a little bit sooner and with less heartache on like other angles, I guess.
Yeah. And you guys had so many resources going in as far as like the groups that Suzanne, her base with Suzanne. So you had a lot of, you weren't just like a nobody. I mean, you already had a base. And I think it's worth noting that I think some people are, I've heard people say who done Kickstarters, it's like, you have to give a percentage, of course, to Kickstarter. And then you owe people, sometimes people do t-shirts and hats or stickers. I mean, you got to go and get all those made and shipped and pay for the shipping and all of that. So sometimes they feel like, well, I didn't actually like really make that much money. But I mean, one of the additional benefits is that you then get all of those raving fans, right? I mean, you get their emails, and now you can get them excited if you do it properly, and you can communicate the rest of your journey, and they're going to be like, I'm part of, like, they feel like a sense of
like invested, like, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think like with, profiting from the Kickstarter or not, it kind of comes down to your margins, which wouldn't necessarily be different from a Kickstarter or launching your own company selling on e-commerce. I mean, there are some fees and things that are slightly different. So it's kind of, I think the benefit is, getting people invested in your story, and then also be able to get that funding before you produce the product. Because obviously you have to front the bill when you're producing a product and then waiting to get paid back for it when you sell it, where Kickstarter is kind of the opposite. It's like foot the bill and help us like, launch the company by pre-buying the product.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it can be really brilliant if you do it right. And are you gonna do a second or a third job of like, now you can consult people on how to run a Kickstarter?
Well, it's so funny because I actually have had people reach out and ask to get on calls. I literally just got one this morning that's like, can you get on a call today and like talk to me about Kickstarter? Which I'm like, by no means am I an expert, but like happy to share, my fast learning curve of like the things that either worked well for us or that we would have done different. It's like a whole, I mean, I had no idea. Kickstarter is an entire industry. Like there are many, like dozens of marketing agencies that just specialize on crowdfunding. And like, I didn't know that going in. So that was like a awakening.
Yeah. No, there are companies, and I know of a couple that they take a percentage and help you organize all of that. So, Oh, and I think Suzanne just joined us too. So hi.
Oh, hi.
But yeah, you be careful how much free time you give away with that. You might have to start
I know, for sure.
start charging for that.
A lot
But
of things. I mean, even with you, I think I wrote back when you first asked me to join you, and I was like, July is like really insane.
I know,
Like,
you're
I'd
like,
be happy to do it in August, but I don't know about right now. So I'm just being more protective of like, you know, spacing out the time. I
yeah,
always love to help people, and you know, so many people have helped us along the way that it's like I want to pay that forward.
for
Um,
sure.
but just knowing like already have bitten off a lot, we all have, so like, you know, not overcommitting yourself, I think
Yeah.
is important.
So where are you located at again?
I'm in the Bay Area in California.
Okay. And then where's your co-packer?
In Washington State.
Okay. So are they ready? Like, are you guys ready to turn on the tap?
We're getting there. I mean, we definitely have done a lot of work with them ahead of time, so we're kind of like dialing in the last pieces now and getting everything lined up, and really hopeful that everything will go as planned for like on time delivery of the Kickstarter. But there's still like a few loose ends to tie up. I think our first round of packaging samples are literally should be like on my doorstep while we're talking.
Good. Oh, so fun though. It's
Yeah,
just
it's exciting.
amazing. It's the best part of my job when like we worked for months on a project and then you finally get that like package
I know. I literally have been like
physical.
tracking it every day, like, where is it?
That's awesome. So is your main thing going to be e-commerce? Is that like what's your kind of go-to-market plan and
Yeah,
strategy?
definitely. Initially, our plan is to do direct to consumer on our own e-commerce site. And
Okay.
then we plan to expand onto Amazon at some point, which I think we're just going to kind of gauge based on how things go.
Yeah.
Um, and we actually have our site up now as like another kind of pre-order overflow from the Kickstarter, like knowing that, you know, people miss the deadline, they get busy, they wanted to do it and they forget, or they discover it later, you know,
Yeah,
on
like
Kickstarter,
now,
or
people.
yeah, or through Google or whatever, or come across our social pages and then are like, oh, can I order? So, I mean, we put up at defyfoods.com kind of the secondary pre-order piece of it
Yeah.
before we really like turn our website on for like live
Oh my
time
gosh.
orders. So yeah, then
Yeah.
we'll go into Amazon, and like eventually our goal is to get into retail.
Yeah. Well, I have a great Amazon guy, Shannon Roddy, as
Yes,
you probably know. So,
I signed up for your course, but
oh,
couldn't
good.
do it while it was live. So I have it
Yeah,
on my list to join it when
totally.
I can
Yeah,
find the time.
totally. What was I going to ask you? So you're going to do, well, I would imagine that there's like, I mean, there's a lot of other marketplaces like Bubble or Gold Belly or something, but I would imagine there's probably keto marketplaces too that you guys would be in, helping
Yeah,
out
there's
for sure.
definitely, we've been having a lot of conversations about getting into keto subscription boxes,
Mm,
which are great
yeah,
places for people to, you know,
yeah,
try new keto products without having to buy, you know, like 3 packages of it. And you get to each month, like, have somebody curate 10 of the best new keto products and
yeah,
snacks. So
yeah,
that's something like we're definitely talking through once we can kind of, our main focus is getting the Kickstarter out and then getting our pre-orders from our website out. And then we're going to like kind of take baby steps from there.
yeah, totally. You're like, oh my gosh. Um, Yeah, Sweet Logic has done. I talked with Allie, one of my first food founder lives, and they've had a lot of success with going into keto subscription boxes for sure with their stuff. So highly recommend that. Um, are you gonna do? Are you doing third party shipping, or are you guys? You're not going to ship all these, are you?
You're not. I mean, we went down that path too. We explored. I mean, living in the San Francisco Bay Area, like I don't even have a garage, so
Yeah.
like we sent out a bunch of samples before our campaign, and I have a hilarious photo that literally my living room is like stacked with boxes, like up to the ceiling, all the way around, like every perimeter.
Yeah.
So we kind of went down that path at the beginning to be like, well, what if we get like a warehouse space, but then we need like a loading dock for pallets, and you know, because we're talking about producing close to 5,000 bags with like the backers that we got, you know, so we're talking about like pallets being delivered, so it's not like we can just like have them put in our living room or something. So we went down the path first of like, okay, what if we find a warehouse space and then like we ship it out ourselves? And kind of on the same token of where we went from like, do we do a commercial kitchen to do we do manufacturing, we were like, well, very quickly, like we're gonna max out of that. You know, even if like barely anyone buys the product after that, it's still going to be tricky for us to be able to do that ourselves with what we have going on. So we're planning to work with a 3PL fulfillment partner and kind of dialing that in right now of like, after lots of conversations and research of different ones, like what is the right fit for us.
I love it. I love it. Well, it's so exciting. I'm super excited to get my crackers when they're done. So people can find you guys at defyfoods.com.
Yep, defyfoods.com and Defy Foods here on Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
All
the places. Yeah. Well, go and follow their journey. Go look at their Kickstarter page. It's did such a great job, and super proud. It's so fun to be just follow your journey and be here if I can help at all. But you guys are kicking ass. So
thank you so much. You may be hearing from me for sure. It's like daily questions of things where you're like exhaust all your research, and then you're like, I just need somebody that knows.
Just fun. Yeah. Well, especially when you guys are ready to go into wholesale, we'll definitely talk.
Yeah,
that's
like
a whole different,
a whole other beast that we're like, okay, out of sight, out of mind for now.
Yeah, I definitely say, like, I tell people, like, if you're gonna go big, like, start with either e-commerce, Amazon, and then do wholesale, but don't try to do both.
Yeah, I mean, we knew at least enough to be like, we're gonna go semi-big, with having these like more production efficiencies, but not so big that we're gonna get into all these wholesale accounts off the bat. Like that just is a bit daunting.
But people might be beating down your door here soon enough, so
I know it will be a good problem to have for sure.
Yep. I like to say every business always has 10 big problems that they're solving. The problems just, they just change. And
you solve one and then the new one pops up. Like, wow.
Yeah. So you can't ever be like, all the problems are solved. Like, we're done.
Oh, yeah. I know.
You just get better at trusting that you can solve them and you can figure it out and you find resources and you get more confident, I think.
Totally. Like, I mean, all of it has been a very steep learning curve. So it's like, I mean, when you actually take a step back and look at how far we've come, like Suzanne and I often talk about, like, we had like no idea when we first started this. It was like literally like speaking another language when we would talk to like food scientists and co-manufacturers, and we're like Googling on the call, like, what are they talking about? Like, do you know what they're talking about? And now we're like having these conversations and semi keeping up with them at least. And we're like, wow, we've really come a long way. Like, learned so much about this industry.
I love it. Well, if anybody on this, watching this, is thinking about starting their own keto packaged food, come talk to me first, and then we'll help, and we'll get you connected with you, Jessica.
Yeah, for sure.
Your other business, consulting people on Kickstarter.
It's awesome. Funny, like the thought really did cross my mind, because I was like, there's so much to learn, like with anything. I mean, when you dive into something brand new. It's just like there's so much to learn that I was like, wow, like we learned so much in 30 days on this Kickstarter.
Yeah, but that's awesome. I'm proud of you guys. And
Thank you.
yeah, we'll leave it at that. But thanks everybody for came on. We had a great showing here, and it'll be up on the IGTV and YouTube channel. But you can find me at foodbizsuccess.com and foodbizsuccess all over the socials, and go check out Defy Foods. So awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, this was so fun. I love it.